Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Michelle?
I'm great. I'm having a great day. Every time I get to these Opportunity Knocks episodes, I just feel so inspired by women like you who have created just such great platforms for other people to learn from. So I thank you for saying yes to joining me today.
Oh, I'm really excited to be here. I love to have conversations that we can share with other people that I hope empower them with just new ways of thinking, and also to see different things that are possible.
Exactly. So, for those viewers that are actually on the call, just as a reminder, Opportunity Knocks is a weekly podcast where we feature different female entrepreneurs and we focus on just that opportunities, how we make, take, create, and evaluate opportunities. And opportunity just sounds like such a basic word, but in fact, actually, it's so much greater than that. It really guides us in our different directions. So, Lisa Solomon, I am so lucky to know because Lisa launched the Atheneum Collective during the time that I had actually launched EmpowHer. She was in one of my four founding groups, and I was lucky enough to coach her. And what's even like more impressive than that is Lisa has such an extensive background, having worked at Microsoft and some of the major tech corporations like kind of a pioneer in the tech industry, I want to say, especially being a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what I'd love for you to do is actually take our audience through a little bit of your background and how you ended up launching the Atheneum Collective.
It's funny when you were saying pioneer, I was definitely one of the, you know, internet OGs. We were one of the first people to really, realize that here is this amazing new technology coming out, the internet. This was at the point of dial-up. Like, remember the days of
Yeah.
AOL and Prodigy?
Yeah.
It does date us a little bit, but I knew
Yeah.
at that point in my career that this was going to change everything, that this internet thing. And I jumped on the bandwagon and I said, okay, here's an opportunity
Mhm.
that I think will define how we communicate forever. And I want to be a part of that. And when I first started, I took whatever opportunity I could, which was basically just convincing people to have websites, which then parlayed itself into working with brands and ad agencies to see, wow, how could we advertise and how can we connect to customers in a totally different way through the internet,
Mhm.
which led me to Microsoft. I was one of the first people hired there I was actually the first person in Los Angeles to be hired to work with the brands and
Wow.
ad agencies in Southern California. And we created, the ad units and the standards that are still used today and really pioneered kind of how the internet can be used to market and advertise your products. It was incredible. So I was there for about 12 years, also went to NBC Universal for 5 years. Very similar in terms of that sort of pioneering spirit.
Especially the entertainment business kind of followed. Um,
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about it is that when I went there, the big change, and we're seeing it today more than ever, is this evolution from watching television during prime time. Remember where it was must watch TV and you'd have to
yes.
be there at 8 o'clock to watch Friends or whatever it happened to be? That totally changed, right? We don't watch, I mean, most people don't watch television when it's on. They go to their streaming services, and now there's a million streaming services.
Exactly. So much,
So
right?
we really worked at pioneering how do you start thinking about moving those television ad dollars onto these digital platforms because consumer behavior was changing. And so one of the things I really love is this idea of innovation and how can things are changing. How do we kind of grow with them and how do we think differently as things change? And that was one of the things that kind of parlayed me into this idea of creating my own company because
Mhm.
if you're in advertising, marketing, or media, it changes all the time. And it's really hard to keep up. And it's really hard to keep up with the training. And so I really saw this opportunity to take all these people who are the OGs, who have been doing this for a long time, crowdsource knowledge, and really create the masterclass for the advertising business, where experts teach courses to help power up the next generation or people who are inspired and want to learn more.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I see that about you on all levels of your life. Like you're always at the forefront of wanting to know and discover and sort of dissect what's next and how to learn more about it. That's something that I think you're really good at. You know.
Yeah, I realize that I get very bored easily and I have to know what's next. Like I like that idea of just discovery. Like I feel like life is an adventure, and if you are always looking for that next discovery, it just makes it more adventurous and more fun.
Yeah. So tell me, like, when you decided to, embark on the Atheneum Collective, like, was it one of those, was it like an immediate, like, oh, I have this idea, I'm going to move right in? Or was it a little bit more like, well, I'm not really quite sure. I need to test the idea. Like, how did you start?
So I mean, originally I was going to do it with somebody else, and we kind of toyed with this idea together, and it didn't end up working out for us to do it together. And I spent basically a year toying with the idea and thinking about the idea and kind of, I don't know, marinating around all the different possibilities. But there was this point where I just said, that's it, I'm doing it.
Hmm.
I don't, I was doing other things trying to figure out, just what I wanted in life in general. But there was that point where I just said, this is it, I'm going to do it. And in January of 2019, I just said, let's build a website, let's do it, let's launch it, even though I don't even have a course.
Hmm.
I'm going to do this. And I had spent enough of the time in 2018 coming up with the values and the vision and the mission and the what did I want it to be. But there's that point where you just have to just say, I'm doing it. And
Hmm.
every day you do something that moves that vision forward.
Yeah. And so do you think it's something that's innate within your personality, or that you're just determined and driven, or like how, because most people would say to themselves, okay, 2018, I'm thinking about the idea, 2019, I'm just going to do it no matter what. And I'm going to build a website. I don't even have a course. So it's almost like most people would actually start to design the course,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it really depends on your personality. Like I'm a doer.
Mm-hmm. I know
I
that about you.
like to do things. Like I don't like to spend a lot of time in this the in the machinations of something. I just want to do it. And what I love about just doing it is that you're going to learn along the way, right? You're going to take all of those learnings, you're going to take all of this, what did I do right, what I could have done better, and then you just iterate and make it better and better and better. But if you never start and you just spend all that time in your head or writing things down, like that doesn't going to do anything. You just have to, it's like that, what do they call it, the MVP, that minimum viable product. I had the idea, I knew I could make the products, and it was just a matter of just doing it, moving forward. I think that, I couldn't let that stop me. It was too important.
So what would you say, for someone that is like, permeating and like sort of like simmering on this idea, like, where's the first place to start? Do you think it's your passion, or do you think it's, do you believe in, some people believe, oh, I have to have a business plan and, the viability and all of that. Like, where do you start?
Well, obviously I didn't start with viability or a business plan.
I love that because we both
because
come,
because
we both
it's
come from that world where we had
yeah,
to do the business plan,
yeah. But
you
it's
know?
changing all the time. I mean, what I think, you don't know anything until you actually do it. And I think that's
Absolutely.
the part where if I was, if I had to go back in time, I would do the same thing, in that I would start with, you have to have a website, you have to have a value, you have to have a vision, you have to have a product, whatever that product happens to be. But once you just commit to whatever it is and you create that list of both strategies and tactics that you need. And every day you look at, what can I do that moves this forward? And it makes everything else so much easier because the stake is in the ground. You've done it. You've committed.
Mm-hmm. So like every day when you think to yourself, like, okay, the stake's in the ground, and it's been 3 years or 2 years?
No, too.
2 years. Okay. So you've done a lot of different types of programming in the last 2 years, right? So how did you, because, some people could say like, oh, well, she started with this media planning course, right? And then she shifted to CBD. So tell me a little bit about like, how are you deriving your content? Like, is that by passion, or does it all relate back to advertising and
So
marketing?
it all relates back to advertising, marketing, and media. That is the niche of Atheneum Collective. And what's been really fascinating about the whole thing is that the content is driven by the expert.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm have the most amazing job right now in that I meet fascinating people who have incredible careers, and they have so much knowledge, so much experience that I love to harness and turn into these master classes. And they drive the content. Their experience drives what they want to share and what people need to hear. And I used the analogy today about like masterclass, for example. If you go to masterclass and you take a cooking course with Thomas Keller, he's going to teach you how to scramble eggs.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to scramble eggs.
Yeah.
I can go to YouTube for free and find out how to scramble eggs.
Yes.
But he has a very specific technique, and his eggs are definitely better than mine.
Yeah. They're
And
pretty fluffier.
yeah, they are. I mean, it's great. Like I had no idea, like the chemistry behind it or whatever. But the point is that he could teach anything, but he's teaching something that his point of view, his experience, his knowledge. And I could do 10 courses on creating, scrambled eggs, but each chef or each person's going to have a different point of view.
Yeah,
So I use that. They drive so much of what we teach.
yeah, I think what you're saying too is really important because often when you go to some platforms, they may change the content. They may drive what is being required or said. And so there's a lot of ownership for those who are actually coming forward. It also comes from the fact that you probably trust them so much.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I think what's been really fun about this whole process is the level of trust they've put into me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really feel honored that people are willing to share. And, like some people have gotten very vulnerable with what, if, had I known what I known, I might do X, Y, and Z different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so great about it is that it's each person's experience, and they trust that I will help them to create something that is, a course that somebody's going to learn from, that can be inspiring, but that's also well produced and edited so that people can pay attention. Because I think the one thing that everyone, no matter who you talk to, doesn't have enough of is time.
Yeah, exactly. Everything has to be quick, bits of information,
Mhm.
but like very specific takeaways so that everybody can digest it, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
So tell me, do you think you'll do a course yourself?
Oh my God, it's so funny. Yes, I will
I
for
have
sure.
been wanting to see if you will do a course yourself because I actually think you have so much wisdom to share.
I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want. Every time I think I have one, then I meet somebody else who's going to teach something that I want to do. But I don't know. I'm really thinking through, what does that look like? Because I've been in this business for a long time as well. And it's interesting because I think it's because I'm really good at seeing in other people what I think they should teach. I need
But
someone
You're,
basically
you're
to do
good
the
at
same thing for
actually, I think
me.
one of the things that made you a great executive was actually that you're good at leading people and seeing the value in each individual person. Like I've seen you do that in the groups, actually.
Yeah, and it's something I actually really, really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe there's a course around that. But yes, I think that what's really fun is that we're creating courses on two levels. One is the day-to-day skills of a role within advertising, marketing, and media, whether it's media planning or media sales or digital production or whatever. But there's also these, we call them like sort of the power skills, the things you have to know how to do just to be good at your job. So we've got negotiation skills coming. We've got a happiness course coming, like more of those softer skills. We've got a leadership course.
I love that you're calling them power skills, because it's interesting, coming from the coaching world, is that so often people do refer to them as soft skills. But as you just said, those are the skills that actually make you successful at your job. Is that you can be an expert in a specific category or thing, like say you're a designer, or you're the actual person who's producing the event, or director or whatever it is. But if you don't have the leadership skills, or if you don't know how to make your team happy and can't tap into that, that's like the greater value on some level.
Absolutely.
Taught. You can't always teach that. That's a gift that comes to you very naturally.
I think it's harder to teach, but I think it's something people can practice. So if in those courses, like the happiness course, for example, there's principles shared, but so much of it is activities and things that you have to do, because your happiness is something that you are responsible for. No one can make you happy.
Absolutely.
Only you can make you happy.
Yes, it's actually it's a daily choice for people. It's the growth mindset that
absolutely,
whether or not you choose to see the good in what is happening, and even if it's not something positive, right? So tell me, with your company, and when you look forward, like how do you see like your growth happening? Where do you see yourself going next?
So for example, in this year, I'm really concentrating on enterprise level deals. So really working at both large publishing companies to share the courses. I'm talking to major agency holding companies, small to medium-sized advertising agencies, sales companies that, where I was in the ad sales part of the business. So the publishing companies, people who are in ad tech, for example. There's so many companies who need help with training and professional development. And with COVID, it's not like you can bring people in anymore.
No.
Having these courses that are on demand, self-paced, you can do wherever you are, but that are engaging and dynamic and taught by experts. I think, one of the things I'm finding, I just talked to somebody today who works at a major ad agency, and this is exactly the kind of training that they're looking for, especially because it's different and it's coming from people who've been in the it's very job relevant.
Yeah. So when you talk about enterprises and you're talking about publishing companies, are you talking specifically like related to ad agencies, or actual larger corporations that are hired by ad agencies?
Both brands and agencies. Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so great about it. And let's face it, there is no business that does not have a level of advertising marketing.
Absolutely. Well, it's hard to coexist without it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's the thing is that for you coming into having that background and that ability to truly kind of cater your messaging to your audience, it's super helpful for you, like when gaining your clientele. So how did you decide, okay, it's the masterclass for marketing executives and agency and media planning. So, I go there and I select a course and I could just take it, or do I have to become a member, or like
right now each course is individualized that you can, I go to the website, I see the different courses. I could take one, I could take two, I could take as many as I want, but they're each priced individually. Once membership absolutely makes sense, and as the goes, that's sort of where we're moving forward. But it's like a store. I like, if you have 4 pair of shoes, might not be when you have 200 shoes, there's going to be something for everybody.
Exactly. So what would you say drives you every day? See what's happening. It seems as if the Wi-Fi is a little unstable, friends. Let me wait 1 second and see if we can get Lisa back on. Okay, hold on 1 second, friends.
Something's going to happen. Like I'm moving myself forward.
Yeah, absolutely. But what would be like if you were to pick like a word that would be so important to you in describing yourself? What would you say it would be?
Well, my word for this year
I love it. Yep.
is grit.
Ooh, okay. And why is that? Curiously.
Well, because I have my little paper right here that I've created to remind myself. You can't really see it, but yes, I think it's because it's this idea of this. I like the idea of a diligent spirit, right? Somebody who keeps pressing on no matter what in order to hit their goals. And I think that that's one of the things. I feel like life is like a marathon, right?
Absolutely.
And you have to be determined and you have to have this sort of keep going, the sticking to it no matter what. And I really pride myself on being somebody who's determined, who's committed, who's optimistic.
I think you're really loyal too.
I'm very loyal. And, I love people. I love connection. And I feel like, wow, what an amazing opportunity. I've founded a company completely dedicated to this idea of connection, knowledge sharing. It's all about people, and I love people.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting to me that you would pick the word grit because I just think to myself, that's already who you are. That's so much, it's inherent to who you are. I mean, I definitely think, the other thing that comes forward to me is like, this has been a somewhat serious interview for us because usually we're joking around on some level. But one of the other things that I love about you is that you're super fun. Like you have both sides of you. You're not just this like serious business person that I've climbed up the ranks and blah, blah, blah. Like what makes you so attractive is that you're approachable and you're fun.
Yes, I do like being fun. Those people who know me know I am definitely fun.
It is so true.
But it goes back to the adventurous spirit, right? It's this, even I like to do things that I've never done before, that not risky, crazy shit, but like, I like to have fun. I like to go places. I like to do things. I like to be around people. I like experiences, connections, and all of that to me, I think is super fun. And I feel like it still goes kind of hand in hand to the business I'm creating.
Yeah, I agree with you. So tell me, like when we're talking about, sort of the fun factor, what are some things that you don't find fun being an entrepreneur? Because not everything's positive. It's not easy.
Yeah, I don't like sitting home alone. I will say that that's my biggest thing is thank God for Zoom and being able to have conversations. I mean, the good part of it is I have met amazing people all over the world, and I network and do a lot of Zoom one-on-ones, probably 2 or 3 a week, and meeting new people I've never met before. Love that. But I miss going out. I miss, going out to lunches and coffees and conferences and events, and I miss my friends. I miss vacations. I miss
vacations.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Absolutely. So yeah, so it's interesting. Do you miss working out of the Riveter, or was that not social enough for you?
Well, what's funny is that I did like this, luckily Albright, I think, is another social.
Is it open?
It will be, I think, eventually. And I think that I'll look forward to that. And then I don't really miss the co-working because I actually realize that I can get more done
at home.
Yeah. But I do miss the serendipity of meeting people that you didn't anticipate meeting and just interaction. Like, I don't know, I definitely miss that.
Yeah, that's the extrovert in you that really
Yes.
needs the people interaction and all that. I relate to that. I relate to that a lot. So when we're talking about opportunities and just thinking about opportunity knocks and our audience, there's a lot of women out there who stop themselves. And what would your advice be to them to get started?
I think the one thing I've really, really, really focused on, and I wish I would have done this sooner, is spending time thinking about what I think about.
Mm,
And I never really spent time, I never really realized that the way I feel is connected to what I think.
mm,
And when I started spending time journaling about what I think and how that makes me feel, or if I have a feeling that is negative, I stop myself and say, okay, what am I thinking?
mhm,
And finding the stories that I've told myself that are negative or stressful or create angst within me that stops me from doing things.
mhm,
I have a better practice now of saying, whoa, 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 something's happening. I'm not doing something. I'm not acting because of something I'm thinking. And
mhm.
stopping that cycle and starting to say something's going on. Like
And what
if I
created
have to
that?
send
Like,
an
how did
email,
you start to, because that's like growth mindset stuff and that's
yes.
reflection and, a lot of different things, but how did you choose to do that? Like, what was the impetus that created that opportunity?
I think a part of it goes back to this entrepreneurial journey. I don't think that you can be an entrepreneur if you're not willing to get completely out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's for me, I
There's
mean, maybe
nothing
if
like
you've
a
always been
personal
one,
growth journey. There's nothing like a personal growth journey than being an entrepreneur.
yeah, exactly. But so I think that part of it is that, part of it is, I don't know, maybe it was just a point in my life where I just decided I really want this next chapter of my life to be uh, successful. I want it to be the balance of all the things that matter to me. I want to build and create something successful. And in order to do that, I have to really understand who I am and what I offer.
Absolutely. I mean, it's spot on because realistically, how are you going to offer that? It's whole self, like we talk about.
Yeah, it
How are
is.
you
It's
going to offer something out
absolutely.
to the client if you don't even clearly know who you are or what you're offering? Because it's all our businesses, when you're an entrepreneur, is so integrated to you, the essence of you.
But what's really interesting is that, and I've
Okay.
had this conversation, is that this is no matter what part of the business in you are anymore, you are a personal brand. And
Absolutely.
the future is going to be more and more about your own personal brand. It doesn't matter where you work, but you need to start figuring out what is your brand? What do you want your brand to be? What feels authentic to you? And start building that. Like, I
What's your
wish I would
unique
have
point
done
of
this a long time
differentiation?
ago.
Like, what do you do versus that person does? I so agree with you. It's interesting because years ago I did this brand presentation. It was actually a personal development presentation, but it was called Brand New You, KNEW. And I think the thing is that so I was just talking about this on a different interview. So many people get misaligned. They lose who they are and don't understand who their brand is in the first place. And so they can't come back home. They can't come back and say, wow, what do I really represent? What do I stand for? And I think those are really wise words, really
And
wise.
they're more than the title that you are,
Oh, yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
when you're in that role and you just know that it's not the right one, but you've lost yourself in sort of whatever it is, that's a great time to just take stock and say, who am I? What makes me happy? And what do I want to do moving forward? And I
Yeah.
think that's the great thing is we all have opportunities to reinvent ourselves. If you have a growth mindset, truly, I mean, you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think that the reason why, even COVID, like, people had a choice
Mhm.
of whether or not they wanted to kind of try to continue to live life that as usual, which obviously none of us really had that choice. But it's been a perfect opportunity for people to really take inventory of what's important and who they are. And I can't agree with you more that that's like, it's a necessity, and particularly now, because we have a choice. We really do. You have a choice now as to where you want to be. So anyways, is there anything last that, because I know time is of the essence, that you would love to share with the audience around entrepreneurship or taking opportunities or self-growth and personal development?
I think if you can, I definitely recommend either getting a coach or joining groups, finding community that can help you do some of this work. I would say it's very difficult to do it by yourself. Like I feel fortunate that whether, working with you, or other groups, I've
Like
done,
you're a group junkie.
I like it. I mean, but
Yeah.
it helps
It does
because
help. It holds you accountable.
it holds me accountable, but also inspires me because I can hear from other people. I feel like I'm not alone. And I think just sometimes being away from your desk or your environment and you just go somewhere and you're with like-minded people, you'd be surprised at what's going to come out of your mind. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly. I mean, I think it's really important that you take time for those reflections, and I also I learned so much from other people. I'm inspired by other people all the time. That's one of the reasons why I started the podcast, right? Is
yeah,
that
absolutely. And
it's
I think back to the one exercise that we did that I think about all the time, and I still have my cards,
mm,
is the values.
my cards are coming out this year.
Those cards, I think about, and so just for people who are listening or watching, that Michelle gave us a stack, I mean, huge stack of all these cards that are values. Yes, and you had to go through them and figure out your values. And it was interesting because some of the words were similar, but yet they were different. And you could get it down to maybe 10, but then getting it to those last 5 really takes some nuance of understanding, you know, what do you really truly value. But once you get it down to those 5, I mean, freedom. I felt so empowered to be
Mhm.
able to really use those for how I make choices. They are the values I've used to create this business. I have a blog post on them. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I that really means a lot, and that was just a total opportunity. So speaking of times where you sit and brainstorm and like, do you make it or not, and should it be more perfect, right? Before you move forward, I have to say, I don't know one person that's never been moved by them, which is why we need to create them.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Exactly.
absolutely. So yeah, it's amazing, and I really appreciate you saying that. That really landed. So I want to leave people with where they can reach you, my inspiring friend and colleague, and I also want to leave them with your Instagram and your classes and your coursework, please.
Yeah. So you can always follow me on Instagram. So I'm at Atheneum Collective, and you can see it on the so if you want to see how to spell it, atheneumcollective.com. I actually do some live power up conversations on Instagram.
They're
So you
live.
can
They're
always follow
amazing.
those. And then I'm on Facebook as well. Lisa Solomon. I'm on Twitter at Lisa So Ad Gal. I am, and obviously Atheneum Collective is in all of those as well. But yes, I am always available to go to atheneumcollective.com. You can check out a lot of the courses that we have. We're always creating new ones. And if you're an expert in something and want to teach something, call me. I'm
Call,
always open.
call her. She's there.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful for our relationship, and that I
Yeah.
can call upon you for so many different lights and wisdom. So uh, I'm